Hey guys, my name is Pete Charrette, and I am so honored to be able to be a part of the EPEW 2021 48th Annual K-8 Elementary Physical Education Workshop. I appreciate all that the EPEW crew has done to pull this together, headed up by my good friend Matthew Bassett, and for giving me the chance to present this session today entitled Power PE, Strategies and Movement Experiences to Enhance Your PE Program. I got a ton of material I'm going to look at today, looking at your PE program, your program structure, some of the lesson plan content, instructional practices, best practices, classroom management, fostering a positive environment, and a little bit on assessment. So let's get to it. During today's session, we're going to look at some critical components of a physical education program. We're going to look at several different things, so we're not going to go into super depth on each of the components, but we will look at different examples through video, through some visuals that may help enhance your physical education program. Listed below are the topics we're going to cover today during the session. Everything from establishing a learning environment, your program structure. We'll look at starting a PE lesson, fostering a positive environment. We'll look at some skill-based development. We'll look at instruction and engagement, behavior management, a little bit of assessment. A little bit about me. I'm a retired physical education teacher. I taught 30 years in Georgia. I grew up in Canada, went to school and got my undergrads up there in University of Ottawa, Queen's University. Got a master's and a specialist here in Georgia. Got nationally board certified back in 2005 and renewed it recently. I have my own webpage called CaptainPetesPowerPE.com. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'll put this slide back up again at the end of the session if you want to get any of my information. I want to talk first about establishing a learning environment, which is kind of the glue that pulls your whole program together. It's vitally important that our students understand why we do what we do, and how it benefits them, why physical education. It's important not only for our students, but it's important for administrators and classroom teachers, parents, anybody that comes in the building really needs to know why we do what we do. And we do a lot in physical education, everything from encouraging physical activity for life, helping to prevent sickness and disease, cooperation and teamwork, reducing stress and anxiety, and even boosting academic learning, which is huge. It's important that you follow a standards-based program. So now whether that is from your state or if you're using Shape America's National PE Standards, which I've pulled up right here from their website, it's important that you follow a standard-based program. I've taken the 5 standards from Shape America. And because I taught elementary school, I turned it into something that they could relate to a little bit better. So basically, your 5 standards, you're looking at, this is what we want our students to know and be able to do, to move their bodies many ways and have skills to play games, know how to implement strategy during games, understand how to get and stay fit, know how to respect others, move safely and play fair. And we want them to value movement, personal fitness, and health for a lifetime. Now, Shape America also has grade level outcomes. Some states have similar things that teachers can use. Kind of break down what you will teach the students during your daily lessons. So way back in the day when I first started, I said I told you earlier that I was taught for 30 years. The physical education teachers I knew had listed rules on the gym walls, and the rules were always, don't do this and don't do that, and that type of thing. And I found as the more I taught, the more it was more advantageous for me to have expectations versus rules, because the expectations really cover all the rules. So here's a visual I created a number of years back. Talking about an expectations that you want for your students in PE. You want us to be prepared to learn, to have fun. You want them to try their best, be polite and respectful, help others and cooperate, You want them attempting new things, showing good sportsmanship, paying attention to instructions, moving safely and in control, and you hope they leave with a smile. Let's talk a little bit about setting up your learning space. I think it's important to utilize learning areas inside your gym, much like a classroom teacher. If you've ever known some really good classroom teachers, their classrooms are unique, and you can tell right away that a lot of learning is going on there. And I think we can do the same thing in a gym by utilizing focused learning areas throughout the gym. And you can take your students there and talk about different concepts or things that you want to talk about during your daily lessons. You can display important information. It also helps other people in the building know what you're teaching and what your students are learning. Now, the 3 pictures on the right are from my old gym, which doesn't look that fancy, but I'm going to show you a friend of mine, Jason Leach, from Texas, Keller, in Keller, Texas, and he's got the mecca of all elementary gyms. Some of you may know him, and he's got really, really great learning areas in his gym. And show you a couple more pictures of how he uses his space. So his whiteboard is full of information, great information, and he uses that a lot. He's got a coach's corner where he discusses different things in his lessons. He's got his learning targets up there. He also utilizes a word wall, so he can pull out some of the words on the word wall as he discusses his lessons. And he has some I can statements as well. So a spectacular gym, great for learning, much going on in Jason's gym for sure. Let's talk a little bit about your physical setting of your gym. It's important to keep your playing area safe and clutter-free to the best of your ability. Some people have more storage than others, but to the best of your ability, keep it safe so students aren't running into things and so on during their activity. It's important to use, especially those that are teaching kindergarten, first, second grade, use polyspots or cones or lines or any other marking devices for organizing your classes. It just takes no time when you have these type of markers for you to transition into new activities or lesson components. Now, one of the things I learned as I taught for 30 years, and I was a coach after teaching all day, is amplifying your voice is a great thing. If you can get something to have a wireless mic while you talk, you don't have to yell, especially if you have a big gym like I did. And it just saves your voice, and the students don't feel like they're being yelled at because you just talk in your regular voice. If you have the ability to amplify your voice, it's awesome. Anytime you're working on stations or have different learning areas around your room, if you have directional arrows or station numbers or anything to organize it, helps you immensely. Visuals. When I first started teaching, I never used visuals. That may be hard for some of y'all to comprehend, but because by the time I left, it kind of looked like my walls were throwing up with visuals. But I love using them, and I love watching the students use them. And kid-friendly visuals are great for elementary students because they love to look at them, and it's helping them learn. Let's talk a little bit about your program structure as it relates to your units, and a quick look at lesson plans. A great tool to use at the beginning of a school year is a year-in-a-glance unit plan. So you kind of just take your whole school year, and very generally you write in what units you want to do during the weeks of those months. Simple tool, easy to change if you need to. And then you can take the year in a glance, and you can do more of a detailed year plan. So you take those units and you kind of break them down a little bit into more detail about what you want to do per grade level. You can break them down, depending on your situation. This detailed plan is kindergarten, first grade, and second grade kind of planning together. Third, fourth, and fifth planning together as well. I had a slider on this. This was a Word document that I created a while back. just to kind of detail the units I would do throughout the next school year. Let's talk a little bit about lesson plans. We all remember back to the college days where you would have to do 3 or 4 page lesson plans, which not very doable as a teacher, because it's just too much to have to do. But it's also important, I think, to have a lesson plan that is detailed enough that, you know, if you had to give it to your administrator, they would understand exactly what you're doing. So I came up a number of years back with a what I call a VIP lesson plan: versatile, inclusive, and practical. And the thing I like about it best is it's just a 1-page document, and I can have everything on that 1 page. So they started out as a unit plan, so I just, you know, list a unit and then what I wanted to do within that unit, and then they became lesson plans. And then the good thing, after I had done these for a number of years, I could I'd save them from year to year and just modify them as best I could. So when I was doing a lesson plan, I had the bulk of it there, and I would just change it to what I was doing for that year. Let's look at starting a PE lesson. I think starting a PE lesson is a critical component of your entire lesson. It's the first 5 to 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes, depending on how long your classes are, of your class. This is a great time to hit some of your fitness concepts for your lesson. There are 4 different types, 4 different ways I like to start classes. One is instant activities. Second one is large group quick movers. Third one is non-traditional fitness fun. And the last one is fitness circuits. So we're going to look at each of those and show you an example or 2 of each one. First one, instant activities. These are activities that students will do and participate in as soon as they walk in the door. Sometimes you have to go over them at the beginning of a school year, but a lot of them can be done using visuals, so the students can read something when they walk in or know what's going on right away. So it's great when you have multiple classes coming in, and some classes come in before the other classes, so it just gets them moving right away. A good example of this is AMRAP, or which is called as many rounds as possible. I've got an example up there with an AMRAP visual with 6 different exercises, and the overview is for the students to perform as many rounds as possible using some fitness movements in a given amount of time. So I may set this up for 10 minutes as the students walk in, and they would either do the same visual over and over again or go to different visuals, like I'll show you here. So these are 4 different AMRAP visuals that are put up around, different exercises on each one. The students perform all the exercises in the loop, and then they go to the next visual, or they can do the same one again. Here's what it looks like with some of my former students. I set them up on volleyball standards using poster size visuals. I would like to give them tickets as well when they finish. You'll see that. Now, it looks like the students are working together on this one. When they're really working by themselves, they just like to exercise together. But so that's AMRAP. It's a nice, easy way when students walk in to get active right away. An easy way for you to do this without the fancy visuals is just write them on a whiteboard. They can do the same things over and over again, or you can write down some exercises on a poster paper and put them around the wall or on some cones around the room. So. Next thing I'll look at are quick movers, and when I define quick movers, I'm looking at activities that are performed around the perimeter of the gym, or maybe back and forth across the end lines or sidelines of a court. Let me show you an example of what I call cross-court power shuttle fitness. And students are moving across. You'll see the visual right here of students moving across from sideline to sideline with a center line in the middle that they do an exercise. The students on the outside can be doing balances, static stretches, dynamic stretches, and the ones moving in, back and forth. We stop every once in a while and tell them a different type of locomotor move to do. It's a great thing. You can change it up. You can use equipment or not use equipment. The example I'm going to show you first is without equipment. It's just a fitness-based cross-court power shuttle fitness. Students stop halfway to do some kind of movement, locomotor to that point. Like I said, students waiting can be doing a balance, stretch, or anything you designate, or even just a rest time. Next example I'm going to show you is with equipment. Now this isn't done in a shuttle form. Students are going across, performing something with a piece of equipment, and then coming back. This is with pool noodles. You can pick any piece of equipment out of your closet. Intensity and engagement always increases when you put something in their hands. Lots of fun. Next one I want to look at, starting a PE class, is a non-traditional fitness fun. So this is not fitness where you line them up in squads and they follow a leader or follow you. This is done with a little more fun involved. I've got an example of tic-tac-toe fitness right there in front of you. So students are playing tic-tac-toe and alternating exercises that they do. Just again, it increases the engagement. But I want to show you one way I used to try to get, and this is non-traditional, it's a fidget spinner PE spin board. So just took a circle, broke it up, put some exercises in it, and the students will put, I got a bunch of fidget spinners that were donated to me, so I just put a little triangle piece of tape on one of them, and students would work in pairs or even groups of 3 or 4 students, and they would do this as a kind of a warm-up. You'll see an example in just a minute, but the great thing about the fidget spinners, they act as not only an indicator of an exercise wherever it lands with a piece of tape, but also it's a timer. So once it lands, one of the students will spin it, and that's the amount of time that they have to exercise. So it just increases engagement. There's a couple examples of some boards. Different exercises, different things going on, different themes. This is what it looks like. So in this example, I showed you not only fitness exercises, but incorporating some skills-based movements as well into it. So those boards had that on there as well. Just a fun way to get students moving. Here's a quick and easy way you can do it yourself at home. Just get a pie graph, and you can Google that, just pie graph, and just in the pie graph, just write in some different exercises, and then you just need some fidget spinners. Again, some people will donate if you ask them to. If you've got a good PTA or parent-based group, and you can make it happen. It's just a fun way to get the students moving when they first come in. Last one I want to talk about is for starting a PE class is just basic fitness circuits. Fitness circuit students have different exercises or different movements around the room. Usually use some kind of timer, and the students go from one exercise to the other, usually 20, 30 seconds at each one. You can control it through music, which is the best way. If you have an iPad, there's different timers that you can use on there as well, or a projector. Here's an example of a muscular strength and power circuit. You don't have to have the fancy graphics to make this work. You can just write down some exercises on a piece of paper and rotate your students around. Before I start talking about incorporating skill development in your daily classes, I wanted to talk about fostering a positive environment within your class. One great way to build some engagement in your class is to use some PE greetings or have students do some kind of movement as they are coming in the door. It just gets them excited about the PE class that they're coming to. I'm certainly not the person that came up with this idea. Classroom teachers have been doing it for years, and I know there's a few great PE teachers out there that have their own versions of this. I would put out a couple of movements, visuals outside the door, and when a student come in, they could pick one of those movements to do. So they could do a quick dab, they could do a superhero pose, skateboard pose, they could floss. They had to do it quickly. They had to do it while they're moving. Again, it just builds engagement and excitement for your class. Let's go over some things about fostering a positive environment. One thing I think is important is to find students in your class that need extra attention, and we all know we have lots of those students, and use those students to help you do some things in your actual class or set up or move equipment in the mornings. And sometimes these are your behavior problem students, but if you get them on your side, it really does help, and it gives you a great relationship with those students. As best you can, make a real effort to know your students. If you're like me, though, I had 80 students at a time. It's hard to get to know everybody. I would work in stations so I could at least walk around while I'm giving them corrective feedback. I could also talk to them about who they are and what they do outside my PE classes and that kind of thing. So it's also important for us as PE teachers. I very strongly feel that you should never use exercise as punishment, and I've seen that done before with some PE teachers, and that's a no-no. We want students to enjoy movement. We don't want to put a negative connotation on things we want them to do. You want to be as a physical education teacher, you want to be an important part of your school. And sometimes we're isolated in the gym, or we're outside, or wherever you're at. But if you can lead some school-wide events, such as the Kids Heart Challenge, or have a running club after school, or a walking club in the mornings, it's important. Get involved in some school committees, because you want to be part of that, part of the school, and feel like you're a part of that school, and it helps with your program that way. You want to be visible in and around the school. We used to do a morning news program, and I would spend a lot of time on the morning news, giving out awards or talking up events or whatever, and it just feels like you're a big part of the school, and the students and the teachers appreciate that. Have fun and enjoy your day. Sometimes our job can be stressful, but you got to find ways to really enjoy your day. So you want to lighten up a lot. Use humor. I used to have a joke of the day, and of course the kids would tell me how bad the joke of the day was, but they'd want to hear it every day too. So dress up crazy every once in a while. Do things just to enjoy your day. We have one of the best jobs in the world, so find ways to really enjoy that, and the students appreciate that. Use music if you don't have a system that plays music. It might be a great investment for you because it really entices the mood. It's great for transition. It's great as a motivator. If you can get music playing while the kids are moving, it's a fantastic way to run your classes. So let's talk about skill-based learning in your daily classes. An important part of what we do as physical education teachers is to teach skills. Skills such as dribbling and throwing, tossing, striking, kicking, catching, volleying. Skills that you can use multiple kinds of equipment to use in your activities for students to learn. I think it's important that you have a set of cues that you use to teach these skills, and you can simplify them for your younger students, get a little more detailed for your older students, but the cues help the students learn the skills. One of the best ways to teach skills is through stations, and so if you're working on a certain skill like throwing or tossing, you have a set of different stations with different targets or whatever challenges for the students to do. And this way you don't have to have as much equipment. For me, again, I had 80 students, so teaching the stations was a good way for me to teach the skills. And I could get around and help the students and correct the students, and just a good way to teach skills. So set up around your room, you have different challenges or different stations for the students to do. If you're looking right here, I've got some throwing stations put up. Knock them down through the hoop and in the bin. So students are throwing to different targets. It's also best to have some differentiation by having different distances or other things to make it differentiate for each student, depending on their skill level. Students will stay at a station for a certain amount of time, and then you just rotate them. I'm going to show you an example of an overhand throwing station set. Throwing station set up. Spider-Man nets, down hula hoops, giant pins, big orange cones, upright hula hoops, and Delta targets. So the stations allow you for the students to work on the cues that you previously taught. It's also, some other concepts that come with whatever skill you're teaching, like trajectory. Each of these targets requires a different trajectory, so that's something you can talk about, especially with your older students. Here's a version of the overhand throw station where students are also, they go from different distances, and they can score points depending on how far they are away, and they're incorporating a little math in there. they're working together as a group to make it happen too. So this is the same, well, a little bit different stations, but incorporating some worksheets with it. Another great way to teach skills in your PE lessons is to do challenges or progressive challenges, and just taking some equipment out from your closet and teaching some manipulative skills with beanbags, hoops, jump ropes, balloons, beach balls, scarves, wands, pool noodles, stacking cups, paddles, rackets, playground balls, all kinds of equipment that you have, and teaching some skills. And there's different ways to teach these progressions or challenges. You can do them with a command or practice style where you're up front, you demonstrate or have a student demonstrate and they follow. And then you can do some self-guided, and I'm going to show you some self-guided visuals that I've used before where students go through the challenges and go to the next level. So just a different way to teach skills. Here's an example of some command or practice style where I'm up front, or I use a student to demonstrate and the students follow. This is with beanbags, some toss and catches, and some balances. We progressively get a little harder, and I always tell students if they have difficulty to just stay on one of the earlier skills. Again, another way to do some challenges with the equipment, some skill challenges, is to, again, like I said, some self-guided, and you can do this just by writing some skills on the sheet. I'm going to show you some visuals that I used to make that happen. So in these particular visuals I'm using, I had 6 different challenges in each one. There's some, top left is beanbags, stationary short rope, stationary rope, rope on the ground in the green one. Purple one is for hula hoops. Orange one is for scarves. So I had several of these, and students would work through the 6 challenges. They progressively get harder, and as they go. And I do have a short video. This is not my video from my school, but from Tanner Roos's old school, if you know Tanner. And he used some of these visuals with his students, so you'll see how they use them. Great thing to do, you know, where students can either be working by themselves or with some small groups. Working through the 6. If they get through the whole super challenge, then they got the dab and they get a little ticket. So just another way to get them engaged. So that's, again, another self-guided way to teach skills in your class. Another fantastic way to teach skills is through reciprocal teaching. That's where students are teaching each other. So you have some students that are the doers and some of the observers. And while the doer is performing the skill, the observer is providing feedback. And usually if you have some information on a sheet for to provide the feedback, it works great. So that example I have up there is a jump rope sheet. Progressively gets harder as it goes down, has some information on there, some instruction. some tips and some cues, and one student is looking at it while the other, so they're working in partners, the other one is performing. So you'll see an example, not with this particular sheet, but a different one. Again, that's the students' work, going from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4. So rope on the ground, non-jumping skills to basic jumps forward and then basic jumps backwards. So they're working up as they go. This is an example. So to me, there's nothing better than watching students work together like this, helping each other learn the skills. So even the one that's not doing the jumping or turning is learning because they are trying to help the other student do it. So reciprocal teaching is a fantastic way to teach skills in your class. Let's talk about specific sports skill stations. So with my older students, my 3rd, 4th, and 5th students, we would do some sports, and we would work on some skills within that sport. My younger students were mostly just skill-based, but I would work on some sports skills for my older students. So the stations then are made to replicate the skills involved in that sport. So you'll see an example of a basketball station where students are doing chest and bounce passes. Again, students work from one station to the next. You rotate them every certain amount of time, depending on how long your classes are. And here's an example of some lacrosse stations that I did at my school. So that was the lacrosse stations, but we would do them for basketball and floor hockey and most of your typical sports, and students enjoyed them. And then we'd hopefully they learn some of the skills, and then we would do some small-sided games, either inside or outside afterwards. I want to talk about instruction and engagement in your daily classes. So I really think it's important that we engage the students, especially nowadays, if we truly want them to learn. The activities that we have them do and how we present the activities really makes a difference in how the students respond. Let's talk about some nuggets or things that might help when it comes down to instruction and engagement. I think you need to use attention grabbers, clapping, chanting phrases to get students' attention. Any of you that have ever tried telling students to be quiet, realize that doesn't work. So you have to come up with some ways to get them engaged or looking at you so they can listen to your instructions. Always prepare for downtime, because you're always going to have some times where you're waiting on a teacher or pick up the students, or there's going to be some time that you have to have something ready to go in the back of your mind to keep the kids engaged and ready to learn at all times. Anticipate times that you may lose your teaching space, because there are times that you're going to lose your teaching space. And you may have an administrator come in the morning and say, "Oh yeah, did I not tell you we're having pictures in the gym today?" Which happened several times to me, but anyways. So always have something, again, planned in a classroom, outside, or wherever, just in case that happens. When you're giving instructions, directions, keep them clear, simple, and direct. Students are ready to move, so you lose them after a bit of time. Use humor and laugh often. We talked about that earlier. Give positive and instructional feedback frequently. If your students get around, let them know you're there. Let them know you care. Differentiate your instruction. If you're teaching something, always give them multiple levels, so that students can pick or choose what to do based on their level. Attempt new things. Don't be scared to try new things. Like if you've never done lacrosse before and you have the chance to use some sticks somewhere, try it. It's great. New things sometimes work better than anything you've done before. If you're having issues with behavior or certain things, it's best not to yell at students from across the gym. It's best just to stop everything and redirect. Tell your students you see some issues that need to be changed. So, but do it in a general way. If you want your behavior to be better, always, if you can get something in their hands, they're less apt to have behavioral problems, and especially if they're focused on learning something. Working in skill or sport stations, we talked about that earlier. Limit your lines, because if the lines are too long, then students are going to find alternate things to do while they're waiting in lines. Incorporate small-sided breakout games instead of full games, especially with elementary students. You don't want to be doing full basketball games. They're not quite ready for that, but you can have some small-sided little breakout games that have the skills involved in those sports. Don't use elimination games. Students are only in there a little bit, so you want them moving as much as possible or learning as much as possible. Use kid-friendly visuals, and it's easier now to make visuals than it ever has been. There's multiple platforms you can use to make your own visuals, so there's plenty of people out there making visuals that you can find on social media. Incorporate academic subjects naturally. I know some PE teachers frown upon when they're told they have to incorporate math or reading in their classroom, but a lot of times we do that anyway, so it's just a natural thing for students to count, or you provide some games where they have to add or multiply or whatever, but it happens naturally. Involve your students as referees and scorekeepers. That helps with your sportsmanship. Keeps things running better, and the students have a better appreciation for referees and scorekeepers. Employ a variety of teaching styles, from command to practice to small groups to stations to small-sided games. Try different teaching styles. And also, don't forget about your non-participants. Have something for them to do. Get them involved in the class if you can. If it's something they can do, they make great referees or scorekeepers or observer. Physical education certainly is a unique subject with a variety of challenges that we have. We have a big gym, big space. We're outside a lot. We have lots of students. They have lots of things in their hands. So we have a unique set of behavior issues we have to deal with. I don't have time to get into a lot as far as behavior management. I just want to talk about a few points. Remember that you are the leader, whether it's inside or outside, large class, small class, you're the leader. If any of you ever watched Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer, he talks about being the pack leader. Well, in the gym, you're the pack leader. And you do that using calm, assertive energy, not yelling and screaming, but using calm, assertive energy, letting them know that you're the one in charge. It's important to use effective nonverbal communication. You can say a lot of things without saying anything at all. And your positioning in the gym and always being constantly monitoring what's going on. I think it's important. We see a variety of students with different skill levels, come from different backgrounds, so it's important that we celebrate diversity. It's important to keep the students moving at all times, the most you can, instead of waiting in lines or listening. Use nonverbal communication often. Teach students how to resolve conflict. Rock, paper, scissors is a physical education teacher's savior sometimes. So I had a visual up there to help the younger kids understand the rock, paper, scissors. Several physical educators on social media have done some conflict resolution visuals. I know Ben Landers has. I think it was originated by J.D. Hughes in one of his early books. But any way you can get them to resolve conflict, and you have to teach it to them. My wife and I came up with a Let's Work It Out Resolve poster that I used at the beginning of the year, and kids would visit if needed. Unfortunately, some of the students we have come to our classes don't show the greatest sportsmanship, and that's probably a learned behavior from home. So we have to spend a lot of time teaching sportsmanship. It's just one of the things that we have to do in our job, since we're playing games and activities where students could easily get in conflict. So we need to teach sportsmanship. So discuss it often. And again, use students as referees, judges, scorekeepers, and timekeepers. Assessment in physical education is always a hot topic and always a challenge because of the numbers of students we have and the other challenges that we face. I want to show you a couple methods and techniques I use for formative assessment that helped when I was teaching. So formative assessment is assessment done basically not for grades, but assessment done to help the students advance in their learning. One of the ways I did it was through peer assessment, and that was by far the best way to use assessment for my students. So I would come up with some visuals. The students would be working on a skill. They would be working with another peer, and they would, be checking off some of the cues that we had already talked about earlier, and checking off whether they got the cues or didn't get the cues. These were not for grades. These were just to help the students advance in their skills. The next slide is going to show you a quick video of some students doing some peer assessment and self-assessment with their iPads. A very short video, but showing you that students could use the iPads to help look at themselves or look at the other students to check off if they're getting the cues for whatever the skill is. Exit slips are great. The problem with exit slips is time, but I had some teachers that would I would give them exit slips, and they would take them back to the classroom and let the students do them in the class. That doesn't always work depending on the teacher, but a good way to use to find out if your students understand the concepts that you're teaching. Exit checks. This is a simple way. Again, I'm not the first to come up with this type of graphic. This is just one of the forms I used. So students, as they're leaving, the question is, how did I do on PE? They can choose by either holding up the number with their fingers, or they can pre-coronavirus just slap it on the wall. So if they had a great day and had super work, they would slap the number 4. Helps you to understand if your students understand the concept while they're leaving. I had a PE checklist too. This is just one big poster visual I had hanging above our exit door, and students can use it, just a checklist, and I would read it off, waiting on a teacher. Students can make a check sign or thumbs up for these different questions. If they had fun, stayed active, did their best, and so on and so on. I want to end today's session going beyond the gym walls. What can you do as a PE teacher to improve your own teaching practice or help your PE program? One thing you can do is further your education. So go back, get your master's or your specialist or whatever your state offers. Join your professional organization and a state organization and become involved with them. If you really want to challenge, become nationally board certified. Whenever you can, go to workshops and conferences, either virtual or on-site. Take an online course or a webinar. Find a mentor. There's plenty of great PE people out there that would be happy to help you further your practice. Connect with other PE teachers. You can do that there's lots of Facebook PE groups right now. Twitter's great for it. Several different outlets you can go to find materials, resources, things that will help you with your program. Share and search on a PE drive. There's a few PE drives out there that can help you. Lots of shared free resources that can help you. Listen to a podcast or watch a show. Participate in PE chat. Twitter's got some great PE chats that you can contribute to or learn from. Recognize other teachers' accomplishments. Create and design your own resources. There's plenty of outlets to do that. I do most of mine on PowerPoint. Comic Life is an easy one to use to make your own designs or your own visuals that you can use in your gym. Try to connect with all the school staff you can. Find content information from a PE website. That's my PE website up there. It's CaptainPetesPowerPE.com. I've got a portal there that kind of goes out to all things PE in the PE world. So good place to go if you want to find some information. So again, I'm going to end up with my card. If you ever need to get a hold of me, my email is pete.charrette@gmail.com. Again, my PE website is CaptainPetesPowerPE.com. So if I can help you in any way, I'd love to. Thank you so much for tuning into my session today. I hope you guys enjoy all the sessions from all the great PE teachers at the EPEW 2021 Physical Education Conference, and I hope to see you out there on the road somewhere sometime soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for attending the 48th Annual Elementary Physical Education Workshop. We're glad you were here.
Please follow us on our social media platforms. EPEW can be found on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Please check out our website for links to more great sessions. Just go to epew-cp.weebly.com and click on the virtual EPEW 2021 tab at the top and scroll down.
EPEW 2021 Educators Assemble would not be possible without the support and dedication from the amazing EPEW committee. The committee has been hard at work for months preparing for this workshop. Thank you to Linda McGee, Barbara Groton, Scott Wilson, Stephanie Sandino, Julie Miller, Jessica Monlux, Kayla Ailman, Shelby Lozano, Andrea Chavez, Scott Townsend, and Cindy Chase.
Thank you for attending EPEW, where our motto is, come to learn, leave as family.